There's the pre-trial conference that's ongoing at this point, which is necessitated for John Dramani Mahama and his team to raise some red flags and to amend certain reliefs and stuff that they were seeking in the initial thing they put before the petition they put before the court. So we will keep you posted, and as always, we would like for you to engage with us heavily on social media at TV3 Ghana. But this morning, 3 top issues will engage our minds. We'll talk about Galamsey because the president, in his last State of the Nation address on the 5th of January, had indicated that we need to have a dispassionate national conversation about it to see whether or not to allow the practice of Galamsey amongst us. We'll be asking the key questions on your behalf. And then also we'll be looking at the numbers that have started dancing calypso again on the COVID chat show, as I like to call it, and whether or not we are also playing by the rules of COVID because it is the disease that dictates the pace, or we have set our own market scheme and the original market scheme is beating us at our own Olympics. And then if we have some more time, we'll talk about possible appointments that the president could be making and what should run through the president's mind, how many ministers he should have. My guest this morning is Dr. Dennis Botte. He is a very respected medic, and he's also with the Health Nest here in Accra, and they provide all the needed health care that you can get anywhere around the world. Doc, thank you very much for your time this morning.
My pleasure.
And also Senior Elvis Daku. I call him senior because in this our job is like the law. When you come and meet your senior, you abide by the rules. Senior Elvis Daku is the managing editor of the Finder newspaper. He went on a break, but he's back. Senior, welcome. How are you doing?
No, I'm good, yes, sir.
Yeah. The last time he left me here, he went to chill at Akosombo. It's okay. It's okay. The small boys always get to do the work. The big boys go and chilling.
Oh, no, that one was for the kids to just have a feel of the holidays.
I know. Doc, how you doing?
Very well.
Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Great. And happy birthday to Senior Bright Nana Amfo. It's your birthday today, aka Witch Catcher, aka Senior Bright. Everything. It's your birthday today. You're head of assignments here at TV3 and Media General. It's your birthday today. Senior Bright Nana Amfo. Happy birthday to you. Live long, stay strong. And we will do what the caucus usually does. We'll see you on the happier side. Let me begin with you, Dr. Botte. I'm sure you've seen the COVID numbers. And what's running through your mind when you saw the numbers going up? Yesterday, Dr. Franklin Asido-Bekwe is talking about the fact that we are running out of beds. Some medical people I know say we have actually run out of beds and we are now improvising. What's running through your mind?
Is that of worry? Is that of serious worry as to the way forward? I mean, I keep saying that in this country, even before COVID came around, we had this problem of the no-bed syndrome.
Right.
Even when we were not under any pressure from such a pandemic. And so now that it is here, if we don't take serious steps, then the situation, which is already bad, is just going to get worse. And we're going to lose more lives. Isn't it true that over the past 2 weeks, I mean, as much as I can recollect, the numbers of people having fallen sick, and funnily enough, because the symptoms of COVID would usually start just like malaria, a lot of people think that, oh, it's just malaria. They go over the counter and start taking malaria medicine with or without test, and sometimes they get better. And it's only when they realize that they are still not getting better, then they start looking for other answers to the question.
Okay.
And the numbers of people who are testing positive has actually spiked up. I monitor a lot of people, so I know what I'm talking about. And I think true to that, yesterday, the information that we got from the Ghana Health Service says that the numbers of active cases is now in the thousands. It's crossed 1,000 active cases. And these are people who are actually going to test themselves. Remember that now the free testing is not there anymore. Like where we had a situation where people could just walk in and test. Now people are going to facilities, private facilities for that matter, and pay some huge amount of money to get tested. And even that, which people can't afford, those who are affording and are testing positive is high. So you can imagine those who are just saying that, so let it be. Hack my soul, it is the Lord. You know, so they are not even testing, they are home and they are trying to recover. So I bet you that the numbers out there are crazy. And we should all sit up again go back to the drawing board. The things that we used to do that we have stopped. Now, churches are filled. You go to churches, no social distancing. Every masking is off. When you're wearing the mask, it's like you are the odd one out.
Yeah.
And over the period of Christmas till throughout, and 31st night, I mean,
exactly.
Christians, you don't feel okay if you don't go for watch night to welcome the new year. And the hula, the hallelujah and the joy of getting to the new year probably took us over. And I can say that from 31st, 2nd, 3rd January, the number of admissions just went up. I know some people who have actually lost their lives. I mean, young 40-something years from COVID.
Wow.
So I think that we should take these things seriously. When you get COVID, you don't know what's going to happen. God is there for us all. Yet, some people who are religious and as religious as they are still dying. So it's not something we take for a joke and think that, God will intervene. We have a problem with our healthcare system already in terms of infrastructure.
Right.
And we shouldn't joke with this thing. The things that we can do in order that we reduce the numbers, let's do it or go back to the drawing board again.
Now, who caused some? Because the politicians, and again, I'll go back to a conversation I had with the Honorable Kojo Nkrumah, who is now the caretaker Minister for Information. On the 20th of April, he said, we're not lifting the lockdown, the partial lockdown of Accra, Kumasi, Tema, and Kaswa because of economic reasons. We are not lifting it for NIA to go and register people. We are not lifting it for EC to be able to register people. We are not lifting it for MPP to hold their primaries. And we are not lifting it so that people will flout it. In fact, he said nobody would be allowed to flout any of the COVID-19 rules as was in the EI 64. Now, fast forward, all the things he told me would not happen, happened, and more. Yeah. The president keeps insisting that beaches and nightclubs are closed. But we keep getting reports and seeing photos and videos that most of them are indeed working and that people actually don't care. Now who caused some? Is it from officialdom, giving false hope to the people, or it is just the people playing reckless in spite of the fact that government says, don't do A, B, C, D? Now, who caused some?
I think that whichever, we have to look at it from the top. When we were churning out information there about how the numbers were increasing at the time, you realize that people were at least being a bit cautious. Now, the impression was created at a point as if everything is gone down. So people can go out there. People were demonstrating. We were going to church. We were going to all kinds of places. I mean,
we're holding rallies.
Politicians. Losers going on demonstration. Winners celebrating here and there. And as if it is business as usual. So I think that a false impression has been created. And you see, for me, when there was this disincentive, where we were having testing that was going on for free, and all of a sudden it was curtailed, it was truncated, and to the extent that now people would have to now go and pay, then technically our numbers will look as though they are coming down because people are not testing. The reason why we see Britain and all these other places revamping their strategies is because of the fact that testing is actually still ongoing, and they are getting the numbers to know that it's real, it's there.
That's right.
But now there's a serious incentive that I have to find like 300 or 400 Ghana cedis before I can do a COVID test, and that is not easy to come by.
What goes on after the tests? Again, you have indicated, like many others, that our health system is already problematic. It's either overwhelmed or getting overwhelmed. So you test positive, Dr. Bote, or I test positive. What happens next?
Well, so once you test positive, depending on your condition, somebody sent me a text, said, Dr. Bote, where can I go for COVID admission? I said, it depends on how serious your case is. If it's a mild COVID, you would have to stay home. I mean, your doctor will definitely give you prescriptions to manage, and then you'll be giving him feedback.
Right.
If symptoms are getting aggravated or alleviated or ameliorated, which other way, then when you get, if it happens to get to a point where you would need oxygen, then maybe that one you have to go to the hospital. But usually the COVID cases are not necessarily supposed to be on admission. It's actually, you can actually do home isolation, take your medications and recover. So that is basically it. But then you need to let your doctor know if you think that the symptoms you showed or you exhibited, fever, body pains, body weakness. Usually, I keep saying that the respiratory symptoms actually come in later. It doesn't start with coughing and sore throat. It will start with just body weakness, feverishness, loss of appetite. And then later on, some people lose their sense of smell, they lose their sense of taste. And then that kind of headache that you can't explain, persistent headaches, and they would keep coming in, and then sometimes the cough would come in and sore throat. Sometimes the cough is not even serious, but for a few people it gets worse to the extent that they can't even breathe. And just last week I saw one that was so bad that within a short while the guy was dead. And actually they had tried referring the guy. He roamed through the city of Accra the whole day. They didn't get anywhere.
Accra, and they couldn't get.
So when
I'm thinking what's happening out there.
Yeah, there's lack of ICU spaces, or sometimes hospitals just not ready to take anything that is suspiciously COVID because everybody is scared for himself. I mean, maybe the hospital themselves, they don't have enough PPEs to protect themselves. So it becomes more like everyone for himself and God for us all.
Elvis, so Doc is giving us what's happening within the hospital setup and what we should do. It started with numbers. Now the numbers have been converted into names. Now the names are becoming people we know. Where should we go?
One thing I said was that, see, the Western countries are suffering today, not because they should be in the kind of situation they are in, but because of the intransigence of the people. When the kind of restrictions that were imposed in places like Ghana and other places were being enforced, they were shouting that I know my right, I know my right. And were disobeying all the protocols that could have helped them. Now that they are in the crisis, they are now obeying those kind of protocols.
Right. Too late?
Very late for them. Very, very late for them. So in Ghana, I've always said it, see, I said that even if the state fails you, you have a duty not to fail yourself.
But where the state says spread calm, not fear,
yes,
it gives you a certain sense of, oh, the thing is dangerous, but if we are calm,
the problem we are having in this country is, let's be clear, no amount of state pressure is going to solve this problem.
Okay.
It's individual responsibility. That is most important in this COVID, everywhere you go around the world.
Right.
Individual responsibility. Because you see, John, if I lose a good friend or family member, is it the state that has lost somebody? I will feel the pain more than the state. So when we are being asked to obey the COVID protocols, and we think that other things are more important to us, it shouldn't come as a surprise, okay? When election results were announced, people were jubilating on the streets. They forgot about COVID.
Right.
When the NDC said they won the election, it was stolen, their supporters trooped onto the streets for days. They forgot that there's something about COVID. The Black Lives Movement were on the streets in America that they were fighting for their rights. But today, they know now that most of them are dying out of COVID because of those actions.
And in between this, there were the big campaigns. The president was there, vice president was there, John Mahama was there, Professor Nana Jenopo-Kwadwo.
So you see,
all the intellectuals who should lead by example were there.
So you see,
hugging people and shaking hands.
And then we move into the festivities. The churches were full. The beaches that the president said were closed, I saw people at the beaches enjoying themselves. People were packed in swimming pools having fun. Parties were going on. All kinds of things went on. So what we are saying now, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody who is concerned about COVID. Personally, I expected this thing to happen. And I think about 3 weeks ago, I posted it that we should pray that by January and February, we are not overwhelmed with COVID cases because of what I saw happening. You see, it's difficult to say I got COVID from this place because the mode of spread is such that it's so difficult to determine.
Okay. And
there are many people who have the COVID. The problem, the good news and the problem in Ghana is that most, according to the last data checked, only about 18% of those who get COVID actually are symptomatic.
Symptomatic, right.
It means that the majority of the people are working with the virus without knowing.
That's right.
And therefore, if I meet Johnny and we are chatting and Johnny, I don't see Johnny coughing and I'm not coughing, I think that I'm okay.
Yeah, okay, right.
A senior police officer was telling me that she went to a hospital environment, but she realized that she couldn't smell the kind of hospital environment that
we are used to.
So she came out and asked the driver, did you smell anything at the hospital? I didn't smell anything, no. The driver said, oh, but the normal hospital environment was there. And she was like, no. Then I think I have COVID. And then she went for a test and she has COVID.
Wow.
Loss of what?
Smell.
So
it took her ingenuity to know that she has it and the responsibility to test.
That is the point. So you see, we are living in a situation where people think that you can just go around and do things anyhow. Go to funerals on weekends and see how many people at the funerals are wearing any mask. In fact, I was in Accra Central on I think it's on the 24th, and I was shocked what I saw. Look, I wrote it on Facebook. Less than 5% of the people in Accra Central, which was choked, were wearing masks. Over 95%, no mask.
You're lucky that you saw 5%.
From Tudu all the way to the Rollins Park, all the way to the Accra Region Police, that particular enclave, I walked through around the place, and I look like the odd one out.
I say you are lucky you saw 5%.
And I'm like, if this is happening, how do we expect COVID not to go up? So please, let's not be thinking that COVID going up is coming from anywhere. It is from our own actions. What we are doing around, it's obvious that COVID will go up. I think that it's good to raise the alarm now. I believe that by the end of February, we should see the figures going down again.
Would you advise a lockdown?
No, that's why a lockdown. You see,
restrict movements. You
see, the problem of lockdown is one, as we were told by finance minister, that the economy can't even support it. That is number one. Number two, many people will even suffer more in a lockdown than not being in a lockdown. So the most important thing for us to understand is that it is individual responsibility. If I don't want to get COVID, then I have a duty to protect myself. Right. But when this behavior we see around, go to Accra Central today, go with camera and try to phone people and see how many people are wearing masks. You'll be shocked. So for me, it is important, especially at the time that schools are reopening.
Okay.
People from different places are going to school. And definitely COVID will be recorded on school campuses.
Okay.
So our figures, when school reopens, for the first 1 month, is going to be another riot in this country about COVID.
Are you being a prophet of doom?
No, because you are having large concentration of people in closed spaces. And the science has told us that the virus spreads about 70% faster in enclosed spaces than open spaces.
Right.
So now that students are going to lectures and they are going to be in lecture halls, it means that the possibility of people contracting COVID is high in those places. So for me, I'm expecting that when school reopens for the first month, we are going to see another surge in COVID cases because of the environment.
Dr. Botte, let me bring you in now. And Elvis is landed on a landmine. I want you to put your foot on before it detonates. Is it a wise thing to reopen the schools now, given what we are seeing by the figures, the admission by the health authorities, people in government, all of us can feel it? Is it a wise thing to do? Because if the understanding is that the wider population may have the disease without knowing, or the virus without knowing, then it means that some of the children would also have it without knowing, and that will be an incubation point.
Yes, thank you very much. I beg to differ in this thing about going back to school. And I see that based on this. There was an experience over the Utide where a family decided that, it's been a while, cousins, nieces, uncles, they wanted to gather and sleepovers and just 3 days after that, almost everybody who was within that environment started falling sick with fever, little sore throats here and there, most of them thought it was malaria. Oh, it's malaria. I'm like, don't deceive yourself. I mean, you don't all go into an environment and 2 days later you all get malaria. Malaria also
what kind of mosquito is that?
What kind of mosquitoes?
Electronic mosquito bite to everybody.
But like, mosquitoes have incubation period of, malaria has incubation period of about 2 weeks from the time of onset of the bite and before symptoms show. So if you get something so rapidly in a short time, what am I saying? Now, they found themselves in an enclosed environment. The number of contact hours among themselves was very long. Sleepover for 2 days. Now, this is the same thing we are going to be creating in the school. The universities are opening. People are going to sit in lecture halls for hours. The numbers. Well, maybe they might want to do,
in, out,
those things.
I hear they can't find accommodation. They are balloting for where to sleep.
Exactly. But still, the numbers are still huge. Our university system is more like our hospitals. There's no bear syndrome. The same thing, the numbers of students entering the universities, the universities don't have the capacity to have that kind of leisure of having one person sitting at 2 meters from each other. There's still going to be that boxing together of people. And this is going to cause a spread again. Now, you come to the lower levels of education, JSS or JHS, SHS, the kindergartens, and then you can't control these kids. You would want, as much as you would educate them, we would tell them, educate your kids, teach them how to wear the mask, the reason why they should wear the mask, how they shouldn't hug each other. But you go to school, the one will suck their toffee, and then next thing is putting their...
But then the same doctors managing the virus have told us that, children have a stronger immune system.
Good. Exactly.
Which is why
that is
we don't push them to wear the mask.
On a normal day or before COVID, you know that when kids are in school, they usually come home a lot of times with flus.
That's right.
Yes. So how does it happen? It's because of the environment and the fact that they pass these things on to each other very, very quickly. Now, fortunately for us, as the statistics have it, kids do not fall or they don't succumb to COVID as much as adults do.
Right.
But it doesn't also mean that they don't harbor the virus. They cannot harbor it in their system, in their skin, in their clothing, and so the danger is that even you as parents at home, the kids can go to school. Their system seems to be doing better with COVID, but they can bring it to you at home. Right. So you need to take certain steps and handle your children as though they have been exposed. And that brings a big difficulty at home. You have to wear your kids now. They need to wear their mask even at home. In the vehicles, when they come home, you have to probably take their clothes off outside all these kind of things. It's going to be very laborious for parents. So the fact that the kids are not getting sick that much doesn't mean that we, the parents, we are safe.
So you differ that they should not go to school at this point?
I differ. Indeed, I was in for especially the universities. They can still do the online thing because I know a lot of people who actually have done their master's degrees online and they've still... we need to use the technology to be able to help us to do that. And the difficulty I know lies with maybe the kids. And I don't know whether they are going to do Pythagoras theorem. How much are they going to learn? So I think we should look at it again in terms of kids going back to school, because now the numbers are going up. And if you look at a microcosm, what we are having now, what I am looking at, the picture I'm looking at, the microcosm, and then I should extrapolate it to the whole community, then it's getting that bad. Every now and then somebody's calling you, I'm having the symptoms. You still go and test for COVID. Of the people who I asked them to go and do the COVID test, about 70% come out and it's positive. It's that bad. So I keep...
And these are people who call you.
They call me.
So the many who know you but don't call you and assume that, this one there,
Ibaya, And I think we should look at it again. Probably for me, knowing where we are coming from in the immediate past of politics and then the festivities, probably we should have waited a bit before going back to school. Maybe try to manage the situation and make the numbers come down again, and maybe look at.
But then the education officials also think that the children may get rusty. So you keep them at home for too long, they lose all the concepts, and it will be difficult for you to find anything to build upon when they come. And then there's a reverse question of the schools themselves collapsing Already, about 222 of them have collapsed. Some have been turned into guest houses and hotels. Teachers are starving, private school teachers. Some of them have found private jobs, but there are a lot more of them who are at home doing nothing. Where do we draw the fine line between economics and the lives of the people?
The line is very thin, like just like between love and hate. The line is very thin. But I think that if we had a very good support system for our institutions, or some of our systems would have helped. But we don't have that. So especially those in the private sector, I mean, you are paid because you go to school to teach. I mean, once the kids are not coming. But for those in the government sector, I think maybe some stipends can go through. If we had a system or economy that could have supported, it would have been better. For us to engineer more ways of trying to teach these kids, even online. I think we all try to latch onto the benefits of technology in this time. It would also have been an opportunity for us to widen the number of people who would have access to technology, and we would have been able to at least stifle the problem a bit. But it's a difficult situation. It's a very difficult situation because, yes, indeed, the kids will go rusty. Indeed, other people's economy is going to be affected. I mean, livelihoods are going to be affected. But we are looking at a situation too that is going to make us all very sick if we don't manage it very well. Because the higher the numbers go, the closer it gets to every one of us. And it's going to look like now everybody is waiting for their turn to fall sick to COVID.
Herd immunity?
Maybe that's what we are trying to look at. Let everybody get it, and let's see who will recover and who will die. If you die, you die. If you live, you live. Each one for himself, God for us. But I don't think we should be looking at that, trying to achieve herd immunity. I don't know how soon this vaccine thing is going to get.
The government has promised that by the second quarter we would have the vaccine. So a school of thought says, if we will get the vaccine by second quarter, why don't we wait to reopen the schools when the vaccines have come in? But then there's also that argument, like I said, the teachers say, look, if you keep the children at home for too long, they will forget everything we have been trying to build.
For me, if we can actually rely on this timeline as a very reliable timeline, and we are very sure it's going to happen, then we should have waited.
Okay.
We should have waited.
Elvis, do you agree with Doc, especially, and I want to place it in perspective. He mentioned that, for example, the university students can go back to school. Yesterday we were at Legon, and they were balloting for where to sleep. In fact, most of them didn't actually get a place to sleep. It's become a natural ritual. So what happens is that you and I, and around this time, when we were in school, we couldn't find beds to sleep. You go and patch. So a lot more patching will happen, which means that if I'm patching with you and I don't know your status, you don't know mine, we're passing it on. That's the reality we have now. Do you agree that we should go back to school, hold on perhaps for the vaccine? What should we do?
No, for the school, you see, I have said for school reopening, I don't think that we should have held on at all. Because, you see, before we even sent students back to go to school to write to WASI, neighboring Ivory Coast has opened school for all ages. But the situation in Ivory Coast is not getting worse. Even though they had been in school, before we sent students to go and write to WASI, they had opened all their schools for all ages. And it's not only Ivory Coast, even in places like France, Germany, all the places where we think that the disease has actually hit hard, they are in school from all ages.
What are they doing?
And various studies have shown that at least for 20 and below, the virus is not that dangerous. They will contract it, but it's not that dangerous in terms of fatalities to them. And various studies have shown across the world. That's why in a place like Germany or France and Spain, where they have been hit so hard by some of these things, students have been in school for many months now. So for me, students going to school is not an issue. But the only difference between us and them is that the kind of health systems they have and the availability of health facilities and beds and professionals to handle these things is what we should be asking us whether we also can boast of similar
but you don't
conditions.
have it as it is now.
So
should we do what they are doing?
So that's what I'm saying. That's what we need to look at it. If neighboring Ivory Coast also had open schools, how better are they in terms of health care that they have been able to sustain it? As I've said, see, looking at the disease in Ghana, if we are saying only 18% of Ghanaians are symptomatic when they contract the disease, it meant that over 82% of Ghanaians, if they get a disease, it's not a problem.
That is on the assumption that everybody has tested. Everybody.
No, I'm talking about the figures, the figures we have. We are working with the actual figures in terms of tests and the ones that turn out positive, and out of the positive, those that are asymptomatic.
And that represents what percentage of the total population?
But what we can only deal with the actuals.
But I'm saying that, sorry, Senior. I'm saying that, for example, we are 10 in this room. 5 people have tested. And out of that, we run the analysis. So we are running the analysis with 5 out of 10.
Yes.
I'm saying that this is assuming that we have...
Globally, there's no country that has tested all its citizens. That is the issue. So we cannot say unless everybody is tested, then we can know the actual situation. We go by the positives that are coming and which percentage is symptomatic, which percentage is not symptomatic. So for me, going back to school, I'm not worried much. My problem is, how would the managers of the schools react when people show the signs of COVID?
GSS, we have connected their schools to health centers and hospitals.
Yeah, or are said to be positive. Where are the management centers in these institutions? As you are saying, you have rightly said, the tertiary institutions, a lot of patching is going to happen, because it's like almost all of them are now doing in, out, 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 or in, out, out, in.
Or in, out, in, out.
So it means that few accommodation facilities are available on campus now. So a lot of people are now patching. People are moving to hostels where they are supposed to be sleeping 4 in a room. So if they are 4 in a room and 1 person is positive, the possibility of the remaining 2 also being positive, and then they're going to their lecture halls with the virus and also interacting with fellow students is also there. So for me, my focus, which I want the GHS and all state actors to focus on, is how are we going to be able to manage the positive cases that schools will record, so that there will be no panic. If we're able to do that very well, and people are confident that, when you are positive, you are isolated here, after 10 days or 14 days, you are released because you are no longer going to be able to transmit the virus, and therefore we are confident of the management system of those that are positive in the schools. I think that will be good, especially at the tertiary level, before the kids. They may not sick, but as it is, see, children return home every day. I not like the tertiary level where they go and stay in school.
Right.
So when they have parents and elderly people at home, probably with pre-existing conditions, if they should transmit to these people, that will be a problem. So home too, people should be mindful. Once students go back to school, those who know their status in terms of these pre-existing conditions should also manage their relationship, how they interact with these kids once they start going to school.
You're creating an ideal situation. I mean, mind you, the president has said that we'll put up 88 district hospitals and 6 or 9 regional hospitals. And he says that we're going to do that in the space of 1 year. We are almost close to that 1 year, but the hospitals are nowhere close.
Well, of course, in their manifesto, they had come to explain that they are looking at doing it in this term. So we'll give them that benefit of the doubt. But as I'm saying, we don't even need to wait for new hospitals. The ones that are there.
Let me land on my question. The ones that are there now, the health officials are telling you that they are either overwhelmed or they are getting overwhelmed. The people who work in those facilities are saying that the politicians who are, the health officials who are now serving in political capacity are not telling you what it is. They are telling you that we are getting overwhelmed. But the truth, we who work inside there are telling you that we are overwhelmed and now we are improvising under tents, in chairs, blah, blah, blah. So this is our situation. You are hoping on our health system and that, okay, every neighboring Ivory Coast has opened up. But the reality is that we don't have the facilities to be able to support. Should we go ahead and do what Ivory Coast is doing and France is doing?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I am not at the hospital environment. The figures we are told as at 7th of this month is 1,206 figures.
Right.
So that's what we are told.
Right.
1,200 something. So if we are talking about just over 1,000 people, and we are saying we've overwhelmed. I remember some time ago we had over 10,000 people that were positive until the WHO issued a guideline of discharging people after 14 days. Then all of a sudden we were able to discharge many of these people. The question then is, do we only have to put these people only in a hospital environment? Do they all of them need hospitalization, all the 1,000 people? Because when you look at the figures that are published on the Ghana Health website, as at the one that I checked yesterday, which represents the last figures as of January 7th, says that it is 44 people that are critically ill. So it means that there are a lot of people who are positive, but may not need hospitalization.
Okay, but
so,
they could be transmitting the virus anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you see, that's what I'm saying, that you see, for somebody to transmit the virus, there's nothing we can do about it if we don't protect ourselves.
So this person, for example, is
everywhere in the world,
18-year-old or 19-year-old, is a student at the University of Ghana, has gone yesterday to look for accommodation, couldn't find it. Couldn't find a hostel to pitch. So this person will be coming from home to school and back. This person has an aged mother of about 72, 73 with underlying factors. She's the only person who lives with a mother and maybe a smaller brother. Comes to support and help, so they will be interacting. Clearly, this person may be a great danger to the mother who is sitting at home, not going anywhere, abiding by all the protocols. But this 18, 19-year-old may at some point forget, may pick it without knowing, and bring it home. That's a scenario.
That is a fact that this is how the virus is transmitted. There's nothing you can do about it. Whether we like it or not. As I said, even minor schools, people were going to church. People were going to funerals. People were going to all social events. They were returning home. And we are in Ghana, and this is what we have. As I said, if we all decide to abide by these safety protocols, try to do some basic things right, schools will reopen. Initial first 2 months, there will be some bits of panic because students will be said to be testing positive, and the students will spread it on social media. Oh, Lagos, this number of people have tested positive. As we saw in the reopening of secondary school, where Accra girls and other secondary schools were told, positive, and the panic. The most important thing is how to manage the panic. If we are able to come up with a system that can give people confidence and manage the panic, we will resume school and be in school just as we are going to church, going to our mosque, going to parties, going to funerals. We'll resume school and everything will be fine. But if we don't manage that panic, that is where the problem will come from. So it should be more. You see, there's nowhere in the world where everybody who is sick is in the hospital. Like the figures in the UK and America, which hospitals can contain them? In Germany and other places.
The management of the panic, maybe a final one before I go to talk. The management of the panic will get into the domain of spread calm, not fear. It is that same thing that started earlier when we had just 2 cases. Spread calm, not fear.
It's not about spread calm, not fear.
Hold on, let me. So the parents who thronged to the Accra Girls' School, for example, when they had heard that some of the children had contracted it, government said we were going to do contact tracing and enhanced contact tracing. That's what government told us. We don't know because nobody reported back to us that it's being done. But I'm saying that you are talking about management of the panic. And again, even in our schools, like what we saw in Kumasi, KNUST, SHS, where even the sick bay was non-existent, even though they had been connected to a school. The real problems that existed then, nobody is telling us now that they have fixed the problems. And yet we are hoping that the system will run optimally. I find that difficult to side with.
The spread calm and not fear is not just the word. It's about people understanding how the virus works and how the virus spreads and what they can do to make sure that they can minimize the spread of the virus. So if you are saying spread calm and not fear, but the people you are telling not to spread fear don't understand the mechanisms of how the virus operates and spreads, then your message of spread calm and not fear is a waste. It's just mere words. But when I understand the dynamics of how the virus works, and I know that, even if somebody should test positive here, there shouldn't be fear. If the person is isolated from us after 10 days, the person can return and is safe. And therefore, I'm not bothered. If somebody tests positive here, what I need to do is to also complain that I had contact with the person, and therefore I should be tested. And that will be done. If we give people the kind of information they need to understand how the virus works, then they will be calm. But then when you say spread calm, not fear, but you have not given the people, you have not armed them with the kind of information that will make sure that they are not afraid, then the fear cannot go away.
Is it your opinion that we have been armed properly with the kind of information which will help us to manage the fear?
No, I think that there's a lot that we still have to do about education. Because I believe strongly, if the message had gone down well, a lot of the gatherings that we saw during the political campaigns, after election, NDC demonstrations, end this break wouldn't have happened.
So now
Because
admitting that we don't have a lot of education, which is what we saw.
There's no doubt about that.
Should we continue to go out? Lack of knowledge, my people.
Yes, and aside that too, we are also not fighting the conspiracy theories that are in the system.
Right.
So a lot of people, even though they have got the information, this disease is dangerous. But I saw some doctor from America says the thing is fake. So forget it, let's go and chill. You understand it? Like when it started in the US, these conspiracy theories made it possible for young people to be holding what they call COVID parties, and whoever tests positive will be awarded, because conspiracy theorists have told them that the thing doesn't exist. It's the imagination of some people to put fear and control people. So let's also look at,
let me switch to Dr.
fighting the conspiracy theories. Not necessarily only about, I have the information, but conspiracy theories will forget the thing is fake. It doesn't exist.
Doc, there is another conspiracy theory. So while the campaigns were going on, the rallies were going on, the parties were going on, celebration, demonstrations, we didn't see the numbers being updated as much as they are. Now everything is done. MPs have been elected. There's a president. Everybody has found their smoothness levels. Now we're being told about the numbers.
You were just in my mind. You just spoke my mind.
Because when it was happening, everybody was quiet.
Yes.
Even the updates from the side of government stopped.
Sometimes you think that...
And the public education stopped. Now we're finished with everything. And they are telling us that we have the figures.
Exactly.
And they want us to believe the figures.
As though it was a machination.
That the virus stopped.
Yes. So all of a sudden, when it got to the political season, everything just seemed to be fine. The numbers are going down. And then now we are out of the political season, or the major contexting of the elections. And then we are now banding the figures about again. That for me, I don't think is the best. I don't want to use any other word, but it was quite disingenuous to us, the people. From the beginning, there was you watch the media space, and there was a lot of adverts or commercials or education going on. I mean, stations did their own thing. I remember TV3.
We had a whole 1 hour, 30-minute program.
Yeah, and every day, once we drummed it home, people were more conscious of it, that this thing is still out there. All of a sudden, everything was played down. Now we are back again. And then it's as though we do it to our convenience. When it's convenient for us, we talk about it. When we think it's not convenient or suits a certain agenda, we don't talk about it. And that's exactly what you have said, that we just entered January and we are now coming back with the figures again. I think the fight should be continuous. The education should be continuous. Let not be complacent. One life lost is still a life. Yes, we know that about 90 or 95% of people would recover. But still, a life, just last week, as I said, a 42-year-old with 4 children lost his life to COVID. Many people have recovered, but that is one person still who is dead. If we are taking the necessary precautions, if, like as my brother is saying, we know the protocols, we know that you go to a place and more people are maskless than people who are actually wearing masks. And you stay in that environment for a very long time. This is not going to be helpful. And the political players, the managers of institutions, schools, should all have this at the back of their mind, that we are not out of the woods yet.
Okoboy lost his election at Lejokuku because he prevented people from having a deba, and he says COVID was around at the time. He lost his election. Others encouraged their people to have their debas, and they kept their position. So you have to decide what you want to be and how you want to do it. But
in terms of the data, even in America it happened. See, when the disease started, America, the data was being churned out by Association of Laboratory Professionals. So it was not even under the control of the government. But I got to a point where Trump attempted to take control of the data because he thinks that the data was putting fear in the people. But then the professionals resisted and said, no, it's not your business. We do the test. Let's put it out. So these are some lessons we can learn as a country. In the midst of pandemics, should data be controlled by state agency, or we should have laboratory professionals who independently put out the figures so that
the Ghana Health Service is supposed to be independent, it's supposed to be running. And
my brother, you see, when a state institution and the head is appointed by the president, is working, there's difference. But if it's an association of laboratory scientists, these are individuals who are doing their work. Nobody can have that control Like somebody will have a
Well, Ghana Medical Association, which is supposed to be also independent, wrote and cautioned about a lot of things that government did, which they said they shouldn't have done. And they were called haters by the same Ghanaians they were trying to protect.
Yes, but then
the Ghana Medical Association.
But they are supposed to continue. Whether somebody call you a hater or not, you are doing your job. That's none of anybody's business.
Elvis, let's spend the last few minutes, maybe I'll start with you, Doc, on this one. The president has called for us to have a dispassionate national conversation about Galamsey, whether to allow it or to disallow it. We all know the background to this. We had Operation Vanguard, Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, Professor Frimpong Boateng, Minister for Interior, Ambrose Derry, Minister for Defense, Dominic Nitiwo, Minister then for Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu. We put together soldiers, police, immigration people, and we put them out there in the bush. We bought them vehicles, funded them, bought drones and all of that. Operation Galamsey. We pushed a lot of money into it. The media took it like a frenzy festival. We were committed to it. CSOs were out there and everything else. The government kept assuring us that we are winning the fight against Galamsey. The opposition told us, we are not winning the fight against Galamsey. It took us to the Praia River or Fin River, showed us, but the public were divided. Now the president, in his very first address to the nation, after swearing in, says, we need to have a passionate conversation about Galamsey. Question, is the president admitting failure, one? And two, what is this now passionate conversation going to achieve, given the fact that we said we're going to train the youth in mining, we're going to do tree planting, and we're going to make sure that the concessions were well managed by a very good law that was put in place. What are we doing?
Much ado about nothing most of the time in this country. We talk a lot, and implementing things and enforcing things, we do very little about. Galamsey, as we all know, is supposed to be illegal mining. And if there's illegal mining, then there's a legal way of doing it. We need to have regulators for this legal mining. And if Galamsey is illegal, then it should be stamped out. And unfortunately, there are a lot of young people already in there. How are we going to wean them off that desire to get into that, and how are we going to get them into doing doing it the legal way? If you can't get them all into the legal way, what other options are you going to create for these young people? Because unemployment, as you and I know, is rife in our country, and there is still mouth for chop. And I remember that is it 3 years ago, the Ghana Science Association, their biannual conference in Koforidua, I was one of the speakers together with Professor Frimpong Boateng.
That's right. Yes. That's right. I remember.
So I also presented a paper on the effect of Galamsey or illegal mining on the health of our nation. I mean, this goes a long way in destroying our water bodies. All kinds of chemicals get into the water bodies, get into our homes. No matter how somebody said that. Why is it that you take your bath with soap and water, and yet sometimes when you clean yourself with a towel, you still see dirt in it? So no matter how much our water and sewage, they treat our water, some of these chemicals still end up in our bodies and may give us problems later. And things like mercury get into the water, things like other that can lead to dementia and all those things. Now, the people must be educated that you don't have to be selfish in order that you would get what you want and yet put a whole nation at risk of disease or at risk of something that is terrible. But that having been said, you also can't wish it away. Steps must be taken. And calling for a dispassionate conversation of it, I think is right. But
how does that compare to the president's initial statements that he will put his job on the line and that his job is to fight Galamsey and end it? His own officials have been caught on tape. They have been complicit. Nobody has been sacked, including regional party executive. Excavators grew wings and flew away. Beyond the excavators, there are always generators at the mining sites, lights, gold that has been mined, diamond, all of that. Nobody really has been punished.
Exactly.
So now when the president comes to say, let's have a dispassionate conversation, about what?
Just that I keep saying that in this country, or maybe in this part of the world, we never make examples of our leaders when they are found doing what is wrong. I mean, President said he would put his job on the line. Even if it will cost him my presidency, he's going to uproot Galamsey.
That's right.
But here we are, back after 3-4 years. We are now going to sit at the table again and start discussing. And it will be a sorry sight for us to come back a couple of years later and then come and raise this conversation again that we couldn't do anything about it. That's why I say that sometimes it's just talk. I mean, people have lost excavators. Excavators, as you said, they flew. It just vanished. I mean, if you are going to put this into perspective, then all these issues would have to be addressed. You can't have this conversation and forget about the fact that people have lost loved ones through these operations that went on. People have died. People have lost a lot of their generators and their scabs. People have actually gone to jail because of this. But with all that, where did that get us to? So somebody was saying that I have not been treated fairly because it was just talk shop. I mean, if people in leadership positions would do things like this and they can go scot-free, it pains the ordinary person on the street to see that I would have been punished if it was me. Just like I woke up on the morning of the 7th. In fact, I spent the whole night watching what was happening in the capital.
The brawl in Boko.
You know, so I was like, wow, just waiting for the certification of Biden. So in the morning, I slept around 4 a.m. In the morning, somebody woke me. I said, watch what is happening in our parliament. I said, oh, yeah, to parliament. And what I saw, it was despicable. I mean, the spectacle was just bad. And I'm like, with this happening in our parliament, I saw routed citizens in the capital, the citadel of American democracy, the temple of American democracy, and routers were in there, citizens were in there. And I just turned to my country
and it's the same thing.
The same thing. I was like, is it a coincidence of what? And you see our leaders doing things that if people did outside, they would have been shot dead. And nobody will make an example of them. It will just be talk shop. They will come and say sorry, and that's all. But if the ordinary person does it, so I think that we should call a spade and take the bull by the horn. People who are found complicit should be dealt with squarely, just like any other person would be. Otherwise, it's going to be talk shop day in and day out. And we'll come back again in the same situation.
Elvis, you led also from your side at the Finder newspaper, the very strong campaign. I mean, we did it, you did it. The media, as I said, took it on heavily. Shouldn't the president be showing us his terminal report in terms of fighting the menace called Galamsey, and then now proceeding to ask us to have a conversation? That all the timelines, the KPIs we set to ourselves, we should be answering for them first before we call for another conversation. Because that conversation, the results of which will be us spending another of our money and our time and our human capital to try and fight it. So, bottom line, are you disappointed that you joined this fight? And shouldn't the president be sharing his terminal report with us before asking us to go to the next class?
I'm sure that the call for a national discourse is an admission by the president that the effort he put in has not yielded the needed results. That is the bottom line. And we all saw what has happened. People given the mandate to go and work decided to betray the trust of the president. There were allegations against the committees that corruption was in there. It was discussed. We said it was allegation. Finally, Anas put certain things on video. We saw it. For me, at that point, the president should have completely dissolved the committee at that point in time. It never happened. And it's now that he's done it. For me, the fight against illegal mining is something every Ghanaian must support. Because we have legal small-scale mining.
Right.
Galamsey is an illegality, and nobody should entertain it. So for me, the president deciding to fight it was a good thing. The media supporting it was a good thing. The people we have asked to go and do the job have failed us, disappointed us. But that should not mean that we should not go back to the fight.
Shouldn't we make an example out of them first before we go on to discussing and reinventing the wheel again?
Of course, that we should have that done. But even if that is not done, and we can win the fight at Galamsey, for me, it is critical. See, the environment is something that we should never play with, because whatever we do to the environment will have impact on the human being. people's source of drinking water are being polluted with all kinds of chemicals. And we are sitting in this country and we are looking aloof. And people ask to go and fight it. I've rather gone to be corrupted. That should not stop the fight because, see, if you read news stories from mining communities, from hospitals, the rate of kidney failure in those communities are alarming. And this should tell you the impact Galamsey is having directly on the health of the people. Go to communities and you see all kinds of rashes on people's skin. And when you ask what is it, even doctors are not able to tell you. Just tell it's like the people are consuming certain things that they shouldn't consume.
Right.
So for me, we should never play with this because the future of Ghana is what we are joking with.
We are planting trees.
The peoples in those communities, a time will come, they will have to leave those communities because you can't get water to drink and you can't farm. Because once the land is being used for Galamsey, the land has been
We
destroyed.
are planting trees to
Foreigners
reclaim the earth.
Please, but read about how reclamation is done, how long it takes for land to be returned. The people who are destroying the land and taking the money away are actually some people, some of them don't come from the community. And when the arrests were being done, you see the people with bottled water. How many people in those communities can afford bottled water? My suggestion is for the people in their communities, it's about time they begin to chase out their chiefs and people who are engaged in Galamsey in their communities. Because you don't allow the few to destroy your heritage that will put the masses in the community in danger.
Okay.
It's about time people rise up against Galamseyers in their community.
Okay.
If the state has failed you, don't fail yourself.
Don't fail yourself. Thank you. Elvis Daku is the managing editor of the Finder newspaper. He's back on the stands, so go out there and grab a copy. And also Dr. Dennis Bote is a very well-known face on our platform. He's with Helpness. Doc, thank you very much for coming. And a happy birthday to Senior Bright Nana Amfo. It's your birthday today. Mr. President, good morning to you. I know that you are busy now considering names for appointments as ministers, deputy ministers, regional ministers, and to other agencies. You have asked some ministers to be caretaker ministers. I want to submit two things to you. Number one, you gave people jobs in the past. You gave them KPIs on which to work. You are expecting them to go and work again. But first, take their assessment, take their terminal report. Did they fail? Did they pass? If they failed, don't give them another appointment because we'll be paying them with our taxes. If they passed, give them another appointment. And Mr. President, in this new set of appointments that you make, sir, please allow carpenters to do the work of carpenters and let plumbers be plumbers. Even though the carpenters may have contributed much more money to buy the plot of land or may have contributed to buy the materials for building or constructing the edifice, please allow carpenters to do the work of carpenters and let plumbers be plumbers so that Ghana will be beyond aid. Thank you. Good morning, sir. I'll see you after the break.
The Ladies Circle.
Your Saturday evening.
Hello viewers, I'm feeling very frustrated and bored in Sambu life. I'm very happy. If you don't understand, don't worry because myself, I don't understand. We will cross over to our senior reporter for more details.
You know, I'm learning to make a blog. I'm not funny as you said. Vodafone, I'm not quite set. Ultimate Senesika to Topia, Emily to Topia. I go all the network. I will check up there. With Monteso, Diamond for Kenny.
Fifia, Matero said, don't you put charges, man, on me.
See, the excitement for me is that I get to save a lot on Vodafone cars.
Sending money on Vodafone cars to all networks is now free. Send any amount of money as many times as you like to all networks for free. Dial *110# now to send money.
Anyone for Masumo.
The future is exciting. Ready?
When you're supposed to be a man,
Boss, me patch your phone shop via Makudia. Look one ending, sir. Boss. Okay. Good day, January. Minimum.
I am the grow. Say yes, it's a whooping phone, Papa, and a Nadia. I just a one Franco Trading Enterprise. Phone Bia, also be a whooping Bia. This is a Franco Trading Enterprise. Maybe I am also a phone on one or two. Also, phones and an academia. So we will be a wood to a cotton. Once or so, I will a craving one cotton and Franco Trading Enterprise. Franco Trading Enterprise. Phone papa Fienia.
Princess pen drives.
High sense movie chapeau.
High sense bronya. 15th December, couple 15th January. Mujimo, ni atete niama ni so say.
What we say? High sense niama. Hey papa, next nyam kanianso. High sense pen atwa de oba. Yama 5 years warrant. Hey. Yama 5 years warranty.
High sense niama ni nyina. Ya tete so. Every television,
refrigerator, test freezer,
air condition,
gas cooker, electric cooker,
washing machine,
mobile phone, sound system,
microwave oven,
blender, iron,
rice cooker,
water dispenser,
kettle,
steamer,
any be break home.
Aye, high sense nunya.
15th December, couple 15th January.
High sense showroom bia, and never be all bia. Ya tete so.
Extra sa obeko high sense showroom bia na oni abedija. COVID-19 wo hihye bia, ye de gu akwam.
Thank you for your appreciation. I love that.
High sense, everyday prices for everyday people. And your high sense bronya.
Another season of TV3 Talented Kids is here. Season 11 was fun. Season 12 will be super exciting. Are you ready? If you're aged 7, 12 and can sing, dance, play an instrument, draw, act, DJ or have any TV-friendly talent, then it's time to audition for Season 12 of Talented Kids. Audition dates and information are as follows. 18 to 19 January, Takrady inside Connect FM. 23rd to 22nd January, Kumasi inside Akuma FM. 24th to 25th January, Accra inside TV3 at Desawe Kanda. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day. Got the talent? Come flaunt it for the chance to be part of Season 12 of Talented Kids. Also, if you know any child star you think should be on the show, send a video of him or her displaying his or her talent to us via WhatsApp on 054-244-8297 and we will put them on. Talented Kids, free to play. TV3, best in news, best in entertainment.
The most anticipated time of the year is here. The ladies are glammed up. The guys are poised.
So they deserve the love, so we understand.
The lights are up and the stage is set. If I get for my yard. Over 50 young, energetic individuals looking for love. Who gets picked for a date?
You look good, the love looks good on you. I mean, I like you.
Tell him say you draw Jesus. You draw Jesus.
So I draw Jesus, I draw.
Right now, he believes in love and that's why he's here.
Love makes you a liar.
And it's mine.
Who gets heartbroken?
Me to me.
I have other friends. They weren't able to come with me.
I can't.
If you are working in town, someone might feel you are my mother.
I said, who is my and be one boy out to honor by?
No, not that.
But what is wrong with me? I mean, look at me.
Yes, everyone deserves love on Date Rush. It's all fun, excitement, and a learning process on the brand new season of Date Rush.
That's just money.
La hustle.
Are we going to eat that gym?
My you need small energy. La chaba chabo, like yo.
My brother,
The all-new season of Date Rush shows every Sunday at 8 p.m. on TV3. Don't miss it. The all-new season of Date Rush is proudly brought to you by Rush Energy Drink, Casapreco Carnival Liqueur, Ernest Ointment, Heaven Insecticide Spray and Coil, and Napa Foods.